You are not damaged, and you are not unsociable. Think about the last time you entered a busy room and felt out of place, as if you were there physically, but not really connecting with the people around you. Conversations might seem empty, and casual chatter leaves you drained, while you watch others make friends with little effort. Even though something doesn't feel right for you, it can feel like an unseen wall separates you from everyone else. This sensation isn't random or a sign of a character flaw. It indicates something more significant is at work. The way social interactions affect you isn't about being reserved or having high standards for others. It happens because you now notice and feel things that many overlook. Once you come to understand this reality, everything changes, and there is no return to how things were before. Keep listening, because what you are about to learn will make a big difference in your life. Have you ever picked up on a person's mood before they even spoke, or sensed a tense atmosphere in a room before others did? You don't simply watch the world. You experience every change in tone, every silent emotion, and every subtle undercurrent of energy. While most people move through their day unaware, you catch the quiet vibrations that go unnoticed by others. This isn't merely a heightened sense. It is a completely different way of experiencing life. At first, you might have thought that everyone experienced life in this way, expecting others to notice the same things you do, such as the energy in a room when someone walks in. But soon you realize that most people carry on with their conversations without sensing the extra layers of meaning around them, never really seeing beyond the surface. This awareness is both a gift and a challenge. On one side, it allows you to understand others at a deep level. You see past their words, masks, and carefully built images, and you can tell when someone is truly happy or just pretending. You can also sense when someone is in pain, even if they are smiling. On the other side, this sensitivity comes with a cost, because the more you notice, the more you end up taking on from the people and spaces around you. When someone feels anxious, you feel that too. When someone is angry, you experience that tension yourself. And when a room is charged with chaotic energy, that energy becomes part of you. The more you become aware, the harder it is to separate your own feelings from the energy that surrounds you. This is when the disconnect begins. While others can laugh off trivial small talk and continue their day without concern, you end up feeling drained by shallow conversations. You crave real substance, honesty, and truth. And you sense the lack of genuine connection and emotion in everyday interactions. This exhaustion isn't just the result of social fatigue. It is a kind of overload on your entire being. Your body, mind, and spirit work overtime to process everything around you, which is why some people leave you feeling depleted, while others give you energy. It's also why you sometimes need extra time to recover after even a single event, and why moments of quiet and solitude feel as essential as air, giving you time to think, reset, and simply be. Some may call this sensitivity a weakness, or say that you overreact or overthink. However, what many miss is that what you see as sensitivity is actually a special ability to notice things that others do not. It lets you detect the hidden, the unspoken, and understand people on a level they can't reach on their own. There is a reason this topic isn't widely discussed. It is a subject that runs too deep for a typical online video. If you want access to valuable knowledge and extra details, you can sign up for our free newsletter at Insights Academy, and you'll also get a free copy of the Kalian, a powerful book on ancient wisdom. But remember, this is only the beginning. The more you open up to this understanding, the more you will see that your discomfort in social settings isn't random, a temporary phase, or something that needs to be fixed. It is the result of experiencing life in a way that most people never will. When you enter a room, before anyone even speaks, you feel the energy, the tension, and the silent emotions filling the space. As conversations start, you may feel yourself fading, your mind slowly distancing itself, and your inner self crying out for relief. It isn't just tiredness, it is something much more intense. People often tell you that feeling drained in social settings is normal, that you just need to get out more or open up further, but you know that isn't the case. This isn't about being reserved or shy, or even about needing to relax. It's about the fact that most conversations resemble a constant background noise in a world where you long for something real. Small talk can be unbearable, and discussions about mundane topics like the weather or weekend plans seem completely empty. You are not uninterested in people. Rather, you are not interested in superficial connections. While many move easily through casual interactions, you find them exhausting. You prefer to talk about what really matters, why people act the way they do, the nature of the universe, and the emotions that are felt but rarely spoken. Our society is designed for convenience and polite interactions rather than for genuine human connection. People are not encouraged to be vulnerable, to be honest, or to show their true selves. Instead, they perform, wear masks, and say what they think is expected, rather than what they truly mean. And you see right through this act. That is why social settings leave you feeling drained. It's not that you dislike people. It is because you experience everything intensely. Every bit of energy you pick up from others absorbs into you like a sponge, often to the point of overload. The more energy you take on from others, the less remains for you, leaving you feeling empty, as if you have been burdened with a weight that isn't truly yours. It's like being connected to an outlet that continuously drains your power. This is why you crave solitude, not because you dislike social connection, but because most interactions end up taking more from you than they give. In a world filled with noise, all you want is a moment of quiet. Yet, what no one tells you is that this isn't a weakness. Feeling everything so intensely does not mean there is something wrong with you. It simply means that your awareness has grown, reaching a point in your development where ordinary, surface-level energy no longer satisfies you. You no longer find comfort in loud surroundings. Instead, you are drawn to truth. As you go further into this way of experiencing life, you start to see things that most people miss. The subtle distraction from inner emptiness, the constant chase for stimulation to avoid sitting quietly with your own thoughts. People often keep themselves busy, maintain light conversations, and distract themselves from their inner self. But you cannot do that any longer, because once you see through the pretense, you cannot go back to ignoring it. This is why some people lift you up, while others leave you completely drained. It is also why you find comfort in being alone. Not because you dislike people, but because you refuse to lower your own energy to match a world that no longer suits you. No one discusses the fact that once you become aware of these differences, the world doesn't seem the same anymore, and neither do the people in it. At first, you might have believed it was only a temporary phase, perhaps a rough patch that would eventually pass, and that you would feel normal again. You tried to force yourself to fit in, to engage in conversations that felt empty, and to ignore the weariness from being with people who don't truly see you. But no matter how hard you tried, something inside you had already changed. And this is not a temporary state. It is a complete change in how you experience life. What you are going through isn't merely social fatigue, introversion, or emotional burnout. It is the result of a shift in consciousness that changes the way you view the world, the people in it, and your own role. For most of your life, you were taught to see things in a certain way. You followed set rules, smiled when expected, spoke only when necessary, and handled social situations just like everyone else. Then, one day, something changed. You started questioning why we interact the way we do, why conversations seem so scripted, and why it seems that no one is truly present. That questioning was the first sign of your new awareness. As you begin to notice the hidden layers of meaning, the illusions start to break down. You come to see that most people operate on automatic, repeating the same conversations, following the same routines, and living by patterns that do not reflect real thought or emotion. They are simply on autopilot. Meanwhile, you see through it all. Social interactions often feel like a performance. People hold on to identities that do not really represent who they are. And society places more value on appearances than on genuine connection. Once you realize this, you can no longer ignore it. That is why you feel disconnected. It is because you no longer operate at the same level as before, where once you tolerated casual talk and easily blended in with a crowd. Now such interactions feel empty, and you end up feeling like an outsider. This isn't just a mental state. It is something you experience physically in your energy. When your vibration rises, you start connecting with different energies. You crave conversations that challenge your mind and relationships that truly support your well-being. Anything less feels stifling. Yet, as you become more aware, you might feel isolated at first, not because you have become unsociable, but because you now share a unique perspective that many others do not. Soon, you notice that old friendships and familiar places no longer give you the same energy they once did. Even going to a crowded mall or attending a social event can feel overwhelming, not because you have changed for the worse, but because you are no longer suited to the energy you once tolerated. This is why many people struggle. When you start to feel out of place, you might wonder if you are too sensitive or too different, but in reality, you are simply evolving. Many spend their entire lives looking for approval from the world, but once you become aware of your own value, you no longer need to belong to a system that doesn't match your inner self. Your inner self is calling for something higher, and you are here to grow, to expand, and to connect with those who truly resonate with you. So, if you feel out of touch with the world, do not fight it. It means that you are moving away from an old way of living, shedding the version of yourself that fit into a system that no longer works for you, and stepping into a new reality where connections are based on truth, relationships are genuine, and your spirit is no longer weighed down by others' expectations. This is not the end of something. It is the start of something greater. For much of your life, you were told that you were too sensitive, that you overthought things, and that you read too much into people's words, expressions, and energy. But what if the very trait you were made to feel ashamed of is actually your greatest strength? Many people use logic and what is visible to understand the world, but you have always trusted your feelings. You pick up on silent emotions, slight changes in energy, and the subtle vibes of those around you. At first, you might have believed that everyone felt as intensely as you did, but as time went on, you discovered that most people are unaware of the energy swirling around them. They take words at face value, ignore the tension in the air, and live their lives without questioning the energy they give or receive. You, however, know better, and that is where the challenge lies. When you feel everything so strongly, it is easy to become overwhelmed, to feel drained in busy places, and to take on the emotions of others as if they were your own. Before you even realize it, you end up carrying a weight that was never meant for you, and being around certain people leaves you completely exhausted even if they say nothing negative. That is why you long for moments alone, where you can finally hear your own energy once more. Remember, this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a rare and powerful ability. While many go through life unaware and disconnected from themselves, you have a knack for seeing what is real and what is not, for reading the silent messages in every interaction. This gift allows you to instinctively know who to trust and who to avoid, who brings a sense of calm, and who creates unease without even knowing why. In a world where many people hide behind masks and speak words they don't truly mean, your ability is invaluable, but like any gift, it comes with its own responsibility. If you do not learn to manage it, it can feel like a heavy load rather than a strength. This is why there are days when you feel completely empty, when environments seem stifling even if nothing overtly wrong is happening, and when spending time with certain people leaves you feeling both emotionally and physically worn out because you are taking on too much of what isn't yours. So what can you do about it? It is not about shutting yourself away from the world or ignoring the very thing that makes you different. Instead, you need to learn how to control this ability. Imagine you wouldn't leave your front door open for just anyone to come in and take what they want. Similarly, you must set limits on the energy you allow into your life. You have been absorbing everything without any filters or boundaries. But that must change now. When you begin to view your energy sensitivity as a strength, you start to protect it, refine it, and use it wisely. You learn to set limits, not just physically, but also with your energy, and you become aware of the difference between your own feelings and those you pick up from others. You stop giving away your energy to those who drain you, and you choose to spend time with people who truly support you. When you take charge of your energy, you no longer feel overwhelmed by the world. You stop feeling tired after every interaction, and you begin to trust what you feel instead of doubting yourself. Most importantly, you stop thinking of your sensitivity as a flaw, because it was never a flaw. It is a strength that you just hadn't learned how to use properly for a long time. For a long time, you have been moving through life without realizing just how much of your energy you were giving away. Every conversation, every interaction, and every moment spent absorbing the feelings of others adds up until you find yourself carrying a weight that was never meant for you. Now, something has changed. You are no longer just getting by. You are waking up to the fact that your energy is valuable and sacred. Not everyone deserves to have access to it. The tiredness you feel isn't only from social interactions. It is also from a lack of boundaries that have left you open to absorbing too much from the world. Once you start protecting your energy, you will no longer feel drained all the time. You will stop taking on feelings that do not belong to you, and you will begin to feel like you have regained control over your life. The first step being the recognition of what belongs to you and what does not. Have you ever ended a conversation feeling anxious even though nothing seemed wrong at first? Or have you ever felt suddenly sad, irritated, or exhausted for no clear reason? That is not who you are. It is the weight of the energy you have taken in. And unless you actively let it go, it continues to affect you, clouding your thoughts, emotions, and even your sense of self. That is why it is essential to protect your energy. Start by being mindful of the people you spend time with, because energy is contagious. When you surround yourself with those who are constantly negative or chaotic, that energy seeps into you and affects your mood, your mindset, and your overall well-being. Remember, not everyone deserves access to your energy. Some people only take, leaving you feeling empty and giving nothing back. These are the individuals who drag you down with their problems, who unload their emotions on you without taking any responsibility for them, and who keep you trapped in a cycle of exhaustion. But you have a choice. You do not have to be available to everyone, and you do not have to serve as the emotional dumping ground for those unwilling to change. You are allowed to walk away from draining conversations, from relationships that wear you out, and from environments that feel heavy with negativity. This is not selfish. It is wise. Every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what recharges you, to conversations that lift you up, to people who give you energy, and to spaces where you feel light, free, and in tune with yourself. The next step is to ground yourself. When you take in energy from others, it can leave you feeling unsteady and disconnected from who you really are. That is why it is important to have practices that bring you back into balance. Spending time in nature, walking barefoot on the ground, meditating for a few minutes, or even visualizing your energy being refreshed. These simple actions may seem minor, but they help you separate your own feelings from the emotions you absorb from those around you. Finally, think of creating a protective barrier for your energy, as if you are locking your doors at night. You do this not out of fear, but because it makes sense. Before you enter a social setting, take a moment to imagine a barrier around you, a shield of light that keeps out any energy that isn't yours. Set a clear intention for what you will allow into your space, and release everything that does not serve you. Soon, you will notice a change. The rooms that once overwhelmed you will no longer have the same effect, and the people who once drained you will not affect you in the same way. For the first time, you are in control of your energy. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world or take on the emotions of others as if they were your own. You are here to live in your own truth and power, so stop giving your energy away so freely. Protect it, value it, and treat it as something sacred, because once you start doing that, everything changes. There will come a time when you realize that you no longer fit into the old ways of living. The conversations that once entertained you may now feel empty. The people you once felt close to might seem distant, and the life you used to live may feel like a faded memory of who you once were. At first, this might feel unsettling, and you might wonder why you feel so disconnected, or why the things that used to bring you joy no longer do. But here is the truth. You are not losing yourself. You are actually finding your true self. When your awareness expands, your world changes. Things that once felt normal now seem foreign. And people who were once in tune with you now appear to belong to a different world. This happens because awakening is not just about seeing things in a new way. It is about moving into a completely different state of being. When that change occurs, it is natural to feel alone at first, but you are not truly alone. Across the globe, there are many who are experiencing the same change. People who are beginning to understand who they really are, who feel the same disconnection, who long for more meaningful connections, and who are breaking free from old illusions. Even if you do not see these individuals right away, they exist. And as you continue to follow your own path, you will eventually find them. That connection is a choice between holding on to what was familiar or stepping fully into who you are meant to become. Many people resist this change. They fight it. They try to force themselves back into old patterns, their previous friendships, and familiar routines. They convince themselves that if they try harder, things will return to the way they were. But deep down, they know that it is impossible to go back. You were never meant to do that. This process is not about limiting yourself to the old spaces that no longer fit you. It is about opening up to the life that is waiting for you. This means letting go of forcing connections that no longer work, releasing the guilt that comes from not growing, and discarding the idea that solitude is the same as loneliness. In reality, it means clarity. When you stop trying to cling to what no longer serves you, you make room for what is truly meant for you, and that is when everything begins to change. You will start attracting people who understand you without needing an explanation, people who long for the same honesty, and those who are not just tolerant of your energy, but actually support it. Then you will realize that you were never truly alone. You were simply waiting to meet the right people. So do not resist this new phase. Trust that the universe is guiding you to exactly where you need to be. Every person you meet, every experience, and every quiet moment is preparing you for something greater, because the people meant for you are out there, looking for you just as you are looking for them. there will come a moment when everything makes sense. The loneliness, the tiredness, and the feeling of being out of step with the world will suddenly seem like a weight lifted off your shoulders. You will look back at the times you felt out of place and questioned your sanity, and you will understand that you were never broken. You were simply waking up. You were never meant to blend in, nor were you meant to silence your truth just to make others comfortable, or to dim your light to fit into a world that values pretense over honesty. You were meant to see past the illusion, to feel the undercurrents that most people ignore, and to live with an awareness that sets you apart. And while this awareness might sometimes feel heavy, remember that it is also your greatest gift, because the world needs people like you. People who do not simply follow what is expected, who ask questions, who truly feel, and who refuse to settle for shallow connections. So, do not shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Do not quiet the voice inside you just because others may not understand it. And do not convince yourself that you have to change to be accepted. The right people, the right connections, and the right experiences will come your way if you remain true to yourself. You were given this awareness for a reason: to create, to inspire, and to lead a life that is honest and real. As you stand confidently in the power of who you are, you will realize that this new way of living was never about being isolated. It was about embracing change. The more you live according to your true self, the more you attract those who see you, understand you, and speak the same language of the heart. And that is when you will truly know that you are never alone. You are simply awakening. There is even more to what you are experiencing than what we can discuss here. Some knowledge is too valuable and too deep to be shared openly on a platform like YouTube. That is why we created Insights Academy, a space where we share what is difficult to say publicly. Sign up for free and receive a copy of the Kabbalah, available for a limited time through the link in the description. If this video resonated with you, please comment with "I understood it,"